Zup! Oh shit! Hey, it's me, your good buddy Matt D. Once again here in the old game garage, kicking it old school. Sure, actually, still kicking it old school because we're still talking about angry birds. Yeah, we're still in the land of birds that are angry, that are also eggs, that hate pigs, that are sleepy, and suicide is the only solution. I know last week was Angry Birds Star Wars, and this week is Angry Birds Trilogy. And first of all, you're like, hey, dude, why don't you do Trilogy first? And you know what? Dude, don't argue with me. Argue with the alphabet. So alphabetically, Intercavalcade, Star Wars, then the trilogy. Let's just read the back, as we do. Gather your flock and sling into action. Very true. 3 best-selling Angry Birds games in 1. Also true. Exclusive Street Pass content. Yeah. And over hundreds of hours of addictive gameplay! Exclamation point. Hundreds of hours, maybe an exaggeration. 10 hours? Yeah, maybe hundreds of hours. So, I know. How is Angry Birds Trilogy really that much different than Angry Birds Star Wars? Really, I don't have too much more to say, but there are some really key differences. Did I put a logo up there? We'll find out later. Maybe. So this feels like a real game, like the Star Wars, the Angry Bird game of it, because there's different planets and there's multiple planets with different gravity. So there's a lot of slinging from one planet to another planet. That's just kind of cool. Like you're like, oh, I've got to hit a thing from the top and I've got to go from the bottom. So it ends up being pretty clever that way. So like a lot of the gameplay is pretty fun. And then you just kind of like slather some Star Wars on top of it. And that's the part that feels super, 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 super lazy and kind of makes you mad. This gameplay as a game feels pretty legit, but the 3 games in here, again, weren't they free? I don't remember ever paying for an Angry Birds game. To say the best selling, I feel like it's weird. I can't remember. And you know what? I'm not going to look it up. Deal with it. But this feels like, hey man, we put some free shit and we're now asking you to pay 30 more or more dollars for it. Oh, how do we pull that one off? And you pull it off by having like pretty good user interface. Like you can slingshot the birds to open each level. Sometimes you can throw the slingshot in a weird way and get it off the level and hit a secret level, and that's super cool. And there's just a lot of bonuses and perks that you feel like they just kind of really tried with, that feel just kind of more robust. That said, again, the trilogy of games, Angry Birds 1, which I didn't really remember very well, but I'm pretty sure I played it. When I went back to it, what I found was it's shockingly tough. Like, shockingly tough. Like, even though this has, like, slinging from planet to planet, they're like, hey, we're going to get coffee of bones. Make it kind of easy. There's some things in this where you're just, like, kind of like, F you, man. This isn't even fun. How am I supposed to, like, break through this impenetrable barrier with only, like, 2 red birds? That's absurd. Seems absurd. So that's it. Like, so the first game was like shockingly tough because it's so basic. Like they had built so many things onto it by this point. By the point I now think of it as, Sort of like if you were to go back to Batman the Animated Series. I know that's a weird one. Anyway, an Angry Birds Real, which I'd never played before, is, dude, super weird. Like, they added more plot about, like, monkeys stealing birds and you're rescuing birds from cages and killing monkeys. It's super weird. And as it turns out, Seasons, which is, it turns out is the one that I've really played the most. That's the one I played at work. It just bums me out. Like, crazy bums me out because Seasons has, for me, has this feeling of REM's Automatic for the People. That's the one with everything hurts, everyone hurts, everything hurts. We all hurt. And like Man on the Moon, it's got a bunch of other songs. It's the album everyone I knew in high school had, except me. So I got it at some point in my 30s thinking, oh, this is going to be great because this will be like nostalgic. But it kind of was, but I didn't really care for it. The problem was, and this is the problem, I didn't really care for it in the first place. I didn't really like the album in the first place. And so, yeah, it was making me nostalgic of a thing I didn't really like. And it was making me nostalgic of, like, yeah, just of all the worst parts of this nostalgia, like of being uncomfortable in Denny's, you know, like breathing in too much jarm or darum smoke. Jarm, cloves, darums, jarms. Oh. Too much or not enough coffee. But what was I saying? Anyway, Seasons. Yeah, it bumps me out. It's like Automatic for the People. So, I didn't... All I am to say is that... Dude, you got this. All that is to say that, yes, Seasons sort of bummed me out, and I don't know if I'll play it, because it just reminds me of REM and sad times and, like, the worst parts of my memories of San Francisco. I don't know. Anyway, fun game. Ish. I don't know. As it turns out, I'm a crazy person. I don't know why I have this game. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I have Angry Birds Star Wars. I didn't need to get this one. I already had this one. But I didn't have this one, so I needed it. So I got it. But now what? It's a problem. It's a real problem. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's the review. Games in alphabetical order. You know the deal. Like, subscribe, square. I've got to give this dog treats because she's not having any of whatever this is. Hanging out in the game garage, talking games with you, my friends. Yeah, like, subscribe, square. Yeah, tell me what you're playing and all that other kind of stuff. I want to know because this was ridiculous. Dude, what's coming next? I know. Toodaloo. Why did that video take so long? That was just sort of about another Angry Birds game, and the reason is I'm crazy.